So we're here today, obviously, to announce a key arrest in the case with the shootings at local elected officials' residences over the past 2 months. I'm going to let Chief Medina kick things off.
I want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to thank all of our legislators, our county commissioners, and everybody else that has been affected by this for their patience and understanding during this time as we sought justice for them. Earlier today, the Albuquerque Police Department SWAT team took Solomon Peña into custody in reference to these shootings, and it is believed that he is the mastermind that was behind this and that was organizing this. This is a story about partnerships, working together, utilizing technology that got us the results that we needed in order to clear this case. We talked about it last week. One subject had been taken into custody. That subject was taken into custody approximately 1 hour after the shooting at Senator Lopez's home. It was unknown that this individual was involved in any type of crime. Bernalillo County Sheriff's deputy pulled the individual over, took him into custody, and tagged a firearm into custody. And that's where the technology and the advancements and our partnership with Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearm, ATF, come into play. It was within days that we got a hit that that firearm recovered that day matched the firearm that was used in the Lopez shooting. I also want to thank the field officer who quickly put those shell casings that they found in the street into an evidence bag, tagged it in, got it to the evidence lab that enabled us to move forward. Over the course of the last couple of weeks, the investigation went forward, and Deputy Commander Hartsock will be giving some details to the exact way that it all rolled out. But I want to thank our partners at the FBI. Want to thank New Mexico State Police for their assistance, especially today with the SWAT situation, and their assistance from their SWAT team. Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department for that first initial traffic stop and also helping us with dignitary protection over the past few weeks. And the U.S. Attorney's Office and the DA's office, who were there every step of the way, making sure that we had everything we could to charge these individuals. I'll let Acting Commander, Hartsock, get a little bit into the details, but very grateful that we were able to get this individual into custody and that we were able to hopefully bring a little bit of relief to those that were affected and all of our lawmakers, especially with the state legislature starting tomorrow. So thank you. Kyle.
Go ahead. Thank you, Chief Medina. My name is Commander Kyle Hartsock, over our Investigative Enhancement Division. And as Chief pointed out, it was a multitude of different technologies that helped us investigate essentially 4 drive-by shootings in a very quick amount of time and develop at this point that 5 persons were involved inside this conspiracy. The evidence that we have is not only firearm, but it's also from cell phones and electronic records, surveillance video, and multiple witnesses inside and outside of this conspiracy that have helped us weave together what occurred. What our investigation shows, and will be outlined in a criminal complaint that you guys should get a copy of tonight, is that after the election in November, Solomon Peña reached out and contracted someone for an amount of cash money to commit at least 2 of these shootings. The addresses of these shootings were communicated over phone. Within hours in one case, the shooting took place at the lawmaker's home. The persons doing the shootings we're still investigating if they were even aware of who these targets were or if they were just conducting shootings, but the shootings took place. On the last shooting, we now have evidence too that Peña himself went on this shooting and actually pulled the trigger on at least one of the firearms that was used. Again, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department ended up pulling that car over approximately 40 minutes after the shooting occurred in APD's jurisdiction. During that search, 2 firearms were recovered, and at least one of them has been a direct match to the shooting that had just taken place. The driver of that car was Jose Trujillo. The investigation is still ongoing. We're still doing more warrants and interviewing more persons. We know we're not at the end yet, but we did place Mr. Peña under arrest today as helping orchestrate and participate in these 4 shootings, either at his request or he conducted them personally himself. That's the only up that I have investigatively right now, Chief.
I'd say before we do questions, the mayor can say a few words of the U.S. Attorney and District Attorney.
Thank you so much, Commander. And, first and foremost, of course, I want to also thank all the entities that were involved in making sure that this individual and the associates that we know of so far are going to be held accountable in our judicial system. And first and foremost, that they are now arrested and in custody. I know for us, APD essentially discovered what we had all feared and what we had suspected, that these shootings were indeed politically motivated. And that has basically been confirmed by this investigation. This individual was actually a candidate for office against a Democrat House member just in November. And so you'll have all the information available on him. But this situation today, I think, obviously points out that these shootings were orchestrated. They were dangerous attacks, not only to these individuals, which is personally the most terrifying for them, but fundamentally also to democracy. That is why this is so terrible. This type of radicalism is a threat to our nation, and it has made its way to our doorstep right here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But I know here we are going to push back, and we will not allow this to cross the threshold. Today, APD and our partners in law enforcement have helped restore safety by apprehending these dangerous criminals. And we're grateful for their work and the partnering agencies who are able to do this, and also for the technology investments that help us put this case together in very short order. I want to thank them all for working around the clock and also for being able to give a sense of security to our legislators and to our community as the session starts tomorrow. I hope personally, too, our legislators can breathe a sigh of relief. They can go back to focusing on the legislative session. I also know that fundamentally, at the end of the day, this was about a right-wing radical, an election denier who was arrested today, and someone who did the worst imaginable thing you can do when you have a political disagreement, which is turn that to violence. That should never be the case. Differences of fundamentals in democracy are going to happen. Disagreements take place. We know we don't always agree with our elected officials, but that should never, ever lead to violence. And here in Albuquerque today, at least we are holding these individuals accountable for doing just that. With that, Gilbert, I'll hand it back to you. Thank you. Or over to you guys, our U.S. Attorney.
Thanks, Mayor. Afternoon, my name is Alex Ubayez. I'm the United States Attorney here in the District of New Mexico. I'm going to join in the thank yous to the full team here, both in local police departments, our Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department, as well as our the federal partners who are involved in this. As you've heard, NIBIN and ATF play a central role in a lot of the violence and investigations and shooting investigations here in the city. With the credit to Albuquerque Police Departments and local law enforcement and their diligence in picking up and collecting the shell casings from every scene across this city, and in matching and quickly turning in guns and firearms as they're seized. We have now in several cases been able to quickly and swiftly identify folks who are tied to shootings to this technology that's brought to the table by ATF. Another thank you to FBI and their investigative work, always being on call and always being here to support the work of this city and of this district. The United States Attorney's Office stands with Albuquerque Police Department and BCSO in investigating these cases. We review every single day, every single case of violence in this city. We look at it and evaluate it for federal jurisdiction, and those that meet those markers are brought over to federal court for prosecution. So we thank you all. Thank you for your hard work, Commander Hartsock, and thank you all for being here.
I want to say thank you to the mayor, the chief, and Commander Hartsock on the fantastic work that they've done and the fantastic work that will continue in this matter. I will tell you that our office has been working night and day with APD, and I want to congratulate all of APD for their fantastic job that they've done. This is important because, as has been said but needs to be said again, an attack on an elected official is an attack on democracy. whoever that elected official is, Democrat or Republican. And we will hold people responsible for criminal conduct and make sure we do justice. So, thank you, Mayor.
You know, and I want to close with one thing before we go to questions, and I just would like to thank all of our detectives from the Albuquerque Police Department. It's been almost 14 days, I believe, Kyle, somewhere around there, that our detectives have been working nonstop to get resolution and to take somebody into custody. And I think it's a testament to a lot of the changes, and thank the mayor and the administration for everything they've done for us. You know, whether it's detective academies, bringing in technology, it's about building a strong investigative platform at APD. And I'm glad that once again they were able to step up and get some results and close this case out. With that, Gilbert will ask if you need any questions.
Do we have any questions?
Is this still a further threat to the community right now?
We don't believe so. We believe that the main person involved and who was driving this whole conspiracy is in jail, and we're working on those charges as we speak. There is more investigation, and we are looking at other individuals who are involved, but you know, if they're going to face charges, they'll face charges.
Was Pena only connected to the shootings at these homes? I know there was also the business that was shut up, the election office.
Yeah, at this point, it doesn't appear that we don't have any evidence linking them to those shootings. As you know, those shootings, we had shot spotter notifications in the areas around those, the business and the campaign office. No damage, I don't believe, and no other evidence suggesting that they were part of this.
Do you know what the connection is with these 4 elected officials, other than them being Democrats? 2 were county commissioners who had to certify election results. Just, do you know what was their theme other than?
I mean, one of the things I think we could say is that one of his complaints, and Mr. Pena had visited at least 3 commissioners, I think, and Senator Lopez back in November after the election. He had complaints about his election. He felt it was rigged. You know, as the mayor said, he's an election denier, and he doesn't want to accept the results of the election. So he approached all of these commissioners and the senators at their home with paperwork claiming that there was fraud involved in those elections. I think they all expressed that they were puzzled and surprised. One actually led to quite an argument, I believe. So I think that plays into some of this, but it was shortly after that is when the shootings occurred. So that kind of suggests why they were targeted, perhaps.
Was this in relation to the SWAT situation that happened earlier today?
It was, yeah. Mr. Pena, our SWAT team executed a search warrant at his residence over off of Cole.
And I believe the commander said, so 40 minutes after the shooting at Senator Lopez's home, a BCSO stops a car being driven by Jose Trujillo, who was involved in the shooting. Was Mr. Pena in the car at that time? Was he also?
I believe he was the lone person.
Trujillo was by himself.
He was by himself, okay.
And it was a traffic stop that he stopped him on, but he had, I think we have it in the release, 2,800 federal bills and a lot of cash.
Okay. And that was the shooting that you believe Mr. Pena was at personally?
Yes.
We have other information to tell us that he was at that shooting as well.
Okay.
How did you guys determine he was at that shooting, and you said he pulled the trigger as well?
We have somebody that's involved inside this conspiracy who's talking to police.
And how many people are facing charges tonight?
In regards to this shooting conspiracy, just Solomon Peña. Other
Okay.
people are going to face charges, or they already are, but they're in different stages of the investigation, and we're not ready to really get into those details yet.
Are they in custody, or is there only the one other suspect from last week?
Some are and some aren't.
And so besides Pena, that would be 4 others connected, correct?
5 total.
5 total.
Do you know, can you tell us how he was reaching out to these shooters to bring them into his plan?
I mean, it'll be from the complaint, but we definitely have some text messages that were going back and forth. Again, some of them were giving the specific addresses of the officials, and the shootings would occur right after. And we've recovered those messages at this point.
You guys also mentioned the bullet casings and how you guys were able to recover firearms. How was that able to be done so quickly with the firearms? Because I know that can be hard sometimes after things like this.
You know, I think one of the things is, and we talked about this, you know, earlier this year with the case involving the Muslim community, is APD has a great partnership with ATF. They actually put a priority on our shell casings, and we will make the phone call and ask them for a priority on a case like this, and they will assist us. So we're able to get these cases in and out and get results back usually within hours once we send them in. And we're actually fortunate enough that ATF is actually bringing down a second mobile machine for us to start utilizing on a temporary basis until we get a second permanent machine up and running within the city. So we're only going to be looking to expand the system and making sure that we continue to tie those cases or save those cases, because one of the cases that we're talking about that's unrelated, the shooting at the DA's office, we have NIBIN's hits on those cases that are referenced and related to another shooting from years ago. So we're looking into those cases. So it's not just these cases that we get hits on. We're getting NIBIN cases on and hits on all kinds of other cases.
If I could also plug the ShotSpotter system too. I mean, that very, at Senator Lopez's house, we got the ShotSpotter notification. As the chief said, an officer showed up there at some point after that, was able to collect the shell casings. Sometimes they can't do it right after, if it's in the middle of the night, or they can't find them and they go back in the morning. But that quick work on his behalf, and then the fortunate circumstances of BCSO arresting this gentleman really helped a lot.
In tying in ShotSpotter, it's important to note, like Gilbert just talked about, we didn't even know Senator Lopez's home was hit. She didn't realize that her home was hit when those shots were fired. So those cases would have been just laying in the roadway, been run over in the morning with morning traffic. It's ShotSpotter advising us that shots had been fired, us proactively dispatching an officer taking the time to find the casings and tag them in, that led to some success and our ability to have undamaged cases that we're able to tag into evidence.
And Chief, how was BCSO able to take the guns from the Trujillo so that they could be tested?
All firearms that are recovered between APD and BCSO are tagged into and go into our crime lab, and we test every firearm that's coming in.
But like, was the person a convicted felon? Were they not allowed to?
He had a warrant out for
Yeah, it was
okay.
unrelated warrant for his arrest. The car was being inventoried before it was being towed, which is standard procedure, and the firearms were recovered in the trunk.
Yeah.
So I had just to add in, having our combined crime lab in this way, which we have had for some time, has actually really bared some fruit in this case. And then remember, ShotSpotter allows us to be much more accurate with our search for either a perpetrator or casings. So, it's roughly, a 40-foot or 60-foot radius. That's much different than, I heard gunshots down the street. And so this investment continues to prove invaluable.
Any other questions?
Do we know what's next for Pena?
You'll be booked in agency tonight.
I did have a follow-up. When you guys were initially briefing us, you said Solomon contracted at least 2 of the shootings, so have you guys just it's not all 4?
He what?
That he contracted out just 2 of the shootings?
Well, at least 2 of them.
At least 2, okay. You just can't confirm all 4 yet.
There's parts of this investigation that are still rolling in, but we know that at least 2 are directly contracted, and he was physically present on the 3rd one. The 4th one, there's evidence you'll see in the complaint, but it'll be more clear when she reads it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.